want us to be healthier, wealthier, and strong. And I want you to take care of your health, and it doesn't take much, just a little bit of activity in the morning, something that's going to make you sweat. It might take like 15, 20 minutes, less time than it takes to watch your favorite TV show. So the way I see it is if you got time to watch TV, if you got time to, sit back and chill and kick it and do whatever you're doing, in leisure time, then you got time to do something for yourself, do something productive, to build something, whether you're talking about building your business, building your intellect, building your body, or just something that's going to put you in a better position in life. Because the thing about health, the reason health is so connected to economics is because number one, the healthcare industry loves to rip people off. They love to drive people into the poorhouse. If you've ever had medical debt, actually, medical debt, I believe, is at an all-time high. And because in America, one of the things you cannot afford to do in this society is to get really sick for a really long time. That will set you back financially and really destroy all the hard work you put in. So if you've spent your whole life being a wealth builder, you spent your whole life busting your butt, working overtime to try your best to make as much money as possible because money is important and you value generational wealth and legacy and everything else. But then you get sick, and then next thing you know, all your money gets drained by the hospitals. The hospitals come along and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to charge you $100,000 for a surgery that you didn't think you were ever going to have to get." And that just kind of throws things off. So this is why things like insurance are extremely important. Aisha Verzi, I don't know if Aisha's in here or not, but Aisha, say something in the chat if you're here, Aisha. She does some stuff with insurance. And also brother Tony Jackson that we've worked with as well. He does some stuff. And if you go to drboyceoffers.com, drboyceoffers.com, you can actually call Aisha and she could talk to you about what she has going on and stuff like that. And I can just tell you that overall, as I get, I'm 53 now, and it's funny. It's like, I'm really appreciative and grateful that I started the habit of exercising early. I used to be captain of my track team in high school, and I used to run, run every day, and we would work out so hard that we would sometimes vomit after practice. It was really traumatic, and but the good thing is it got me in the habit of working out on a regular basis. And one thing I have found, and this is a little tip for anybody that's under the age of say 40, though, if you start getting in the habit of working out while you're young, it's going to make a big difference when you get older. Like anybody who's over 40, has anybody noticed like how sometimes when you have friends, you might have had a friend in high school that was like the hottest thing in the world. They looked real good in high school, looked real good in college, and then they got a little older, had some kids, and you don't even recognize them when you see them. And I'm not making fun of anybody because we all kind of get caught in life. Life can become a rut, and when you get caught in a rut, things change. Time goes by faster, and then also you just find yourself not having time to do the things to take care of yourself. And I can just tell you the big difference between my friends who are over, 45, 50 and above, who still look good versus the ones who don't is really, did you make a choice to start exercising every day? I can tell you, I'm super proud of my wife because my wife wears the same size as she wore in college. And I'm gonna tell you the honest to God truth. When I think about every single ex I have in my life, I mean, I ain't like I got a million of them. I ain't Megan the Stallion or something. I wasn't out here getting wild or nothing. But when I think about every single person I ever dated, I can't think of one single woman I ever dated who wears the same dress size at 50 that she wore when she was 22. But my wife can say that, and but it takes a lot of work. Like I see this every single morning. She gets up at ungodly hours in the morning. She goes to the boot camp. They're rolling in the grass and lifting. I mean, you talk about like that whole strong black woman stereotype, which by the way, I think that's kind of a mixed stereotype. I don't hate the stereotype. I think strength is good. And I respect the strength, but I don't like it just because I don't think women have to, just always be the strong one, right? I think that men should be strong too, and really, at the risk of sounding a little sexist, I grew up in a space where my father was stronger than my mother. That if a burglar broke in the house and had a weapon, my father would be the one who would take out the burglar. It wouldn't be my mother saying, "Okay, you get under the bed, boy. I'm gonna go handle this. I'm gonna go handle this. I'm gonna go get this dude." My mother was not that person. My mother would have hid in the closet with the kids, and daddy would have took care of that. Man, my father was that type of guy. I mean, he really has actually killed people. He's not afraid of anything, and as a result, I kind of had that piece of him in me too. I'm just not. I'm not scared of death and stuff. That doesn't scare me. So anyway, I I would just say that overall, that's just my well, that's my little thought on that in terms of health and wealth being related. If you don't take care of your health, it'll drain your wealth. I actually told my wife, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but I just flat out told her, I said, as I make my estate plan, I said, look, if it gets to the point where something happens to me and I'm in the hospital and I got less than a 20% chance of survival, I need you to pull that plug, pull that damn plug. Do not have them draining up all this wealth that I built. My money is going to go to you and the kids in the Black Business School. That's it. And I do not want the Black Business School's wealth to get drained by Humana or some doctor or whatever, so they can keep a vegetable, plugged up to the wall. Like, no, if I ever hit that state, just know I have lived my life. I've done a lot of the things I want to do. My bucket list the bucket's full on my bucket list. Basically, like my bucket list has been fully bucketed, so I could literally go out tomorrow and not have any regrets. So I just told her, I said, look, just pull the damn plug. Don't worry about it. Get you another man. You're gonna have some money, and men like women that got money. Just live your life. Be happy. I want you to be happy, and because I love you, and I don't just love you, I care about you. And those are two different things. Sometimes people love somebody, and they think that jealousy is the same as love. And I think jealousy, where you stress someone out and make them miserable and become very possessive and nasty, I don't see that as love, to be honest with you. Now, I have a weird view of love, to be honest with you. I thought about jealousy. I hate jealousy. Jealousy is a negative, nasty emotion, just like hate. Those are two emotions that make you less attractive, and it makes you more toxic, and it makes you not fun to be around. Nobody wants to be around a jealous, nasty, hateful person, right? So I figured this out when I was literally exactly 28 years old. I started thinking about these things when I was in Rochester, New York, and I was sitting there in the snow and cold and all these surrounded by white people. I was just sitting in my apartment and thinking about things. And I remember thinking, I don't like jealousy because jealousy does not bring out the best in me. Being a hater does not make you a better person. And so in general, my perception of love is a little bit different. And so I did tell my wife, I said, you're not my soulmate, you are my soul. And then also, I said, that's what I said at my wedding. I also said that I don't just love you, I care about you. And caring about you means that I want you to be happy, even if it's not necessarily always in my best interest. Even if, so that's why I say when I die, don't be sitting around not dating nobody because you're trying to be loyal to me. I'm dead. I'm in the casket. You go live your best life. Find you a good man. Just make sure he treats you right. Because I'd be mad if a man disrespected you because I treasure you. He needs to treasure you too. That's all I ask. But anyway, let me just get out of my business with that one because I don't want to be talking all crazy today. But I do think that relationships and health connect to wealth. And that's one of the reasons why I might spin over in that direction. For those that are new, who are confused, and you're thinking that we're going to talk about 401ks and stock market tips all day, that's not what we're doing here. We talk about financial consciousness. And financial consciousness means being very conscious of wealth and what it looks like, being conscious of it in all of its different contexts, all of its different ways of manifesting itself. Because here's the deal. Everybody in here is already wealthy. Everybody in here is already a millionaire. Every single one of you was born a millionaire. You just may not have had a lot of money. See, some people are so poor that all they have is money. I think Prince or somebody said that, but that's a fundamentally true statement. Some people are so poor, all they have is money, and then there's some people who are millionaires and they just don't have any money, but they think that they're poor. And I don't want you to mistake yourself for a poor person because when you have love in your life and good relationships and you have youth and health and your mind is right, your body's right, those are all powerful forms of wealth, and I can prove that to you. I'm not just saying it to make you feel good. I can prove that to you. I can prove to you that your physical health is a multi-million-dollar asset. Imagine if I went into your body right now and I took away your health and I required you immediately to get a $200,000 surgery, and then you're going to spend the next 20 years in the hospital. Look at how much money that would come out of your pocket. Look at how much wealth you would lose, how much money you would lose if you were suddenly super sick and had to spend all your time in the hospital. So it goes back to like how I think Ben Franklin or somebody, at least he gets credited with that statement, like a penny saved is a penny earned. So literally, your health protects you from at least a several $100,000, if not multi-million-dollar financial liability. So that's a type of wealth. Your health is a form of wealth. You wouldn't sell your health to me for $10 million. Like if I said, I'll give you $10 million, but I'm gonna give you cancer. Most of you would not take that deal. But unfortunately, cancer has become so prominent and that, a lot of people are getting it. But those of you who don't have cancer or are cancer free, you wouldn't take cancer for $10 million. I hope you wouldn't. Not if it was an incurable cancer that was going to require multiple surgeries, a reduction in your quality of life, and possible death. Or relationships. If I said, I'll give you $10 million for you to never speak to your children again, no good parent would ever accept that deal. If I said you can't talk to your mama no more for the rest of your life, yeah, but I'll give you $5 million for the trouble, most people wouldn't sell their relationships with people they love for money. So your relationships are connected to money in multiple ways. That's just one way, though. There's other ways relationships are connected to money. I've seen people with the right relationships get on the phone and literally make a, $500,000 deal, business deal, because they have a good relationship with somebody. So don't think that relationships and money are not connected. Do not, or I've seen people where they had a good relationship and they were making money together, like a music group or a couple running a great business, and then they start fighting. Next thing you know, because they're fighting, they're not doing business anymore. So the $1 million a year they were making before is now gone. So the loss of the relationship led to the loss of the wealth. Give me a yes. Give me a quick yes in the chat if you're following this logic. I need to know we're on the same page here. I need to know you understand that I'm not doing just touchy-feely stuff. I'm really talking to you about money. I'm talking about economics and wealth. It's just connected. You have to see wealth as part of an ecosystem. It's like a bicycle tire. You can't look at a tire by itself. A bicycle tire does nothing for you by itself. You can't ride a tire. But if you see a tire as part of a bike, and you say, "Oh, if I get another tire and then I get some spokes and handlebars, ooh, I can get somewhere on this thing. I could ride across the whole country." So wealth is in itself by itself not really that valuable. It's just a bunch of paper and whatever, right? But if you mix it in, you blend it in with this game called life, where you're really moving and shaking, trying to, trying to optimize what in economics we call this utility. When you try to optimize your utility, which is kind of overall happiness, overall well-being, and you see money as a tool, as a bike, or sorry, as a wheel on a bike that can build the life that you want to live, then money becomes very, very powerful. Money can build you up, it can destroy you, can do all these things. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about, and before I move on, actually, I want to remind everybody, don't forget that we are going to do the Black Investors Championships. It starts on August 19th. There is an entry fee to be in the competition of $69, but everybody who's in Money in the Morning can get in for free. We will waive the fee. I text out, I think I texted out the link already. Maybe I didn't. I didn't text the link out yet. I'm going to text it out. I'll text it out today. I'll make sure Money gives it to me today. And when you get this link, you're going to get a code. I think it's Black Investors, but don't quote me on that. I'll send you the code, and when you use that code, you can get in for free. It starts August 19th. The last day to sign up is August 10th. After August 10th, there's no more entries, and we're gonna have a leaderboard, and the person who wins after 6 weeks, who has the most money, is the first Black Investors champion. You will win the Black Investors Cup. It's a big, beautiful cup that's engraved, and you will get it shipped to your house. And also, I will bring you onto my podcast if that's something you want to do, and you can talk about what you did and also promote your business or whatever it is you want to do. And you also get lifetime access to the Black Business School, to any class you want to take forever. You get in the league of champions, like the Black Investors Cup. I believe that Black people should have our own awards. I think that I don't like Oscars and Grammys and all that other corny stuff. I think that stuff is stupid, because I feel like these are awards that you don't really get rewarded so much just for being talented. You get rewarded for fitting into someone else's culture. Like if they like you and find you acceptable and you're tolerable, then they might give you their award. But I don't think other people should be validating us. I think we should be validating ourselves, because it's very dangerous for a former slave to be validated by their former slave masters. I just think that that's kind of a touchy, very dangerous position to be in, because they're going to hang that validation over your head, and they're going to put sanctions on you. They're going to use economic warfare against you. Like I was listening to a story about Venezuela. Right now, Venezuela just had some elections, and apparently it's some old gangster stuff. I mean, apparently Maduro, the president, has allegedly done some things pretty underhanded and shady to maintain power. But throughout his term, the United States is constantly dropping sanctions on Venezuela. Just all these sanctions, and the sanctions are basically where they restrict their economics. They say, we're not going to import your oil. We're going to make it hard for you to do business. We're going to hurt you economically because we don't like what you're doing. We don't like how you run your government. We don't like how, maybe we don't agree with you on LGBT or whatever whatever. The US has done this all around the world. That's where BRICS comes from. That's why they're creating BRICS. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But then a lot of countries are trying to join BRICS because they're tired of the United States, slinging around their big economic penis and hitting the people upside the head. And excuse my French. I know it's early in the morning. You don't want to hear about stuff like that. But seriously, that's what they're doing. The United States runs around and they use their economic power to oppress millions of people around the world. They have put sanctions on, I think, 70% of the countries on the planet, and they're just sick of it. So anyway, these economic sanctions are also used domestically. These economic sanctions are also used on African American people. These sanctions are used on you when you get out of line and you say something your boss don't like, or they see you on Instagram and you say something that's a little too black, a little too political. They're gonna come down and kick you in the butt. You're gonna get passed over for the promotion. You're gonna get laid off when they start doing the layoffs. You'll be laid off first. You're gonna be put in the bad pool. Your reviews will start to go down. This happens all the time. This happens all the time. And in fact, I openly talk about how my wife on her job started getting treated differently when she married me. Like when she married me, and I'm not real famous. I don't consider myself a famous person, but I do know I am I guess a little bit of a kind of publicly figure. I mean, like internet famous, which I don't know what that means exactly, but when you've got like a few million followers on different platforms, people know who you are. And so people Googled with her husband. The rumor spread like, oh, she married this guy who's doing this stuff. And so when they started Googling me, instantaneously, that created a stigma for her. And also she has another black man on her job. I don't know, maybe he's probably her work husband or something. I have no idea. I told you I don't do jealousy. But anyway, he's a great guy, and we have the same birthday, ironically. Isn't that crazy? We're both a couple crazy Geminis, and we're both scholars. And she respects him, she stands by him. And when he went through hell, when they put him through a bunch of nonsense on his job, she stood by him. And because she stood by the black man, the penalty started to spill over on her. They were like, okay, you're not one of us. We thought that because you were this cute little light-skinned black woman that you were going to basically kind of integrate into the system, because they don't hire African Americans. The university she works for does not have one single African American on the entire faculty. They have hundreds of faculty members, not one single African American male. They do not hire African American male. I think she's the only African American female. They might have had two. And so because she stood by the black man, they punished her. And this is the real racial dynamic. Nobody talks about this, and people are scared to discuss it. They think it's maybe makes me radical to bring this up, but it's real. There is a difference, and this goes into the politics, right? The politics of signaling, like, hey, I'm gonna say I'm safe. I'm safe. You don't have to put sanctions on me. I'm safe. I'm gonna support your agenda. Look at my husband. Look at my wife. Look at who I married. That's a signal that I'm safe. But you married this, hardcore black man who's talking all this, this racial stuff. Oh, that's gonna get you in trouble. So, so the reason I'm always giving like allegiance to not just my wife, but to just strong, intelligent women everywhere is because it's hard to stand by what appears to be the losing team. It's hard to sort of stand by, somebody when they're not part of the in crowd. They're not one of the cool kids. And I'm not one of the cool kids. I'm not mainstream. I'm not some guy that's accepted by America. Maybe 50 years from now they'll understand where I'm coming from. But I'm kind of seen in this certain space. And Constance Carter, who's another awesome woman, I brought her in here yesterday. She said that. She said that people ask me, they'll say, "Oh, Boyce, is he an asshole?" And she'll be like, "No, no, no, Boyce is a nice guy." And I think I am too. I'm like, "Yeah, Boyce is a nice guy." And she said that people just will think that because I will say things like, you can't tell me who to vote for. Why are you making me vote for the same people over and over again? I have a right to do whatever I want to do. Or I'll say, we need to build wealth. Nobody's helping us build wealth. Everybody's leaving us behind. And people think that that is just so crazy for a black person to truly advocate for black people, or to advocate for himself or herself or their family or the community. I mean, I just really think that we have to analyze this and think about, like, what does this say about our society? I'm not a radical kind of guy, really. I'm just a dad who loves his wife, who works hard every day, who has a real PhD. I didn't cut corners. I got my doctorate from the Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes. And that's it. And I just get up and do my job every day for the people I care about. And there's nothing radical about that. I think the only thing that makes that radical is that there are some who are just very comfortable with seeing black people in a subordinated position. I think there are some who are just comfortable, they be maybe be more comfortable with me if I showed up as a rapper with a liquor bottle in one hand and a joint in the other one, making jokes and being goofy and everything else and being ignorant. That maybe that makes people more comfortable. I have no idea. But I will say this. One thing that's interesting too is yesterday I did a podcast episode and I was talking about did anybody see how many of you give me a yes or no if you saw the clips from the Kamala Harris event in Atlanta where she brought in Megan the Stallion. Did anybody see that? Where Megan the Stallion was performing and it was really interesting. She was on stage and she wasn't dressed like she would normally dress at a concert. She was kind of wearing the blue and it was a nice suit that she had on, but she was like twerking. Like that's her thing. That's her trademark. She's got it. There's probably in a contract somewhere. If you appear anywhere in public, you must twerk at some point. It has to, it's required. So she's up there twerking and everything else. And there was a lot of controversy about that. I think a lot of people felt like it wasn't necessarily the best look. And not just for one party or the other, but more so in terms of the relationship between politicians, and the black community. That there are so many other representations of black women that could have been selected, other than a young lady who you know is known for presenting an image that's a little bit stereotypical. We got enough twerking out there, and I asked some hard questions. I kind of said, well, if when you go see Taylor Swift and all the white people, are you going to have Taylor Swift up on stage twerking? Is that what Taylor's going to do? When you go see Adele and Adele is endorsing you, is Adele going to twerk? Is she going to bend it over and body yada yada? Like, is Adele going to do that? Like what white woman? I'm serious. I'm curious. I'm really trying to figure out which very popular white woman can you find that is as famous as Megan the Stallion. That's right up there at the top of the pile of hip hop. As famous as Lotto, as famous as Sexy Red, as famous as Cardi B, that is going to be doing that. That's as famous as him. Now, Cheryl mentions Miley Cyrus. I don't consider Miley to be in that same category, to be honest with you. And I'd be willing to pay $1,000 to anybody who finds Miley Cyrus at a Kamala Harris political event on stage twerking. I'd like just show me one clip. Just send me one clip. If you send me one clip of that, then I will send you the $1,000 to send me one clip, but put your cash at with the clip, and I'll send you $1,000. Okay, because I don't think because I think that there's kind of a different standard when it comes to the black community. I think that there's a different kind of expectation, and I understand why politicians like rappers. I really do. I understand it because politicians want to be popular. They want to get votes. That's the bottom line. And I've mentioned to you all the economic relationship between politicians and their backers. Politicians have two types of backers. They have the people that give the money, and they have the people that give the votes. And one dominates the other. The people with the money are far more important than the people who give the votes, because you need the money to get the votes. You can have the votes, but the votes won't necessarily get you the money. You can't, because you can't get the votes without the money. The money is how you get the votes. The money is used for marketing. That's what most of that political money is used for, is to buy votes. Now, see, let's see. Someone mentioned Keisha and Iggy Azalea. See, I don't consider those to be on the same level as Megan in terms of popularity as Megan and Cardi and stuff like that. So again, I think that there are definitely white women out there that twerk, right? Because we set trends and everybody copies that. But the thing is, I don't see anybody as famous as a Cardi B or Megan or a Sexy Red who is also showing up at political rallies doing this, right? So I think I just think it's different. I really do. But here's the thing. So with politicians, you raise the money, you serve the people that give you the money. The money drives everything, and then the money is used to go buy the votes. And then what you might do is you might hold rallies and do a lot of marketing, and you might get rappers on stage to endorse you, which will get a lot of people to vote for you because their favorite rapper endorsed you. No conversation really so much about policies. I think there was one discussion at one point. Megan did make a point about if you vote Democrat, then you get to love your body, which is connected to the right to choose, which you can decide how you feel about that. It's up to you. But what was interesting to me is I thought about this and I said, I understand why a politician would talk to a rapper as opposed to wanting to appear with like me. Like, why would you want to have an appearance with me? I'm not gonna fill up a stadium like Megan Thee Stallion. No, no, scholars are not interesting and popular. Right? I can't twerk. If I tried, it would look silly, right? So I get that part in terms of the popularity part. But what's interesting to me is that the relationship between the politician and the rapper is one that is a little dysfunctional because the horse is not dragging the cart. The cart is pulling the horse. The dog is not wagging the tail is wagging the dog. And let me explain. The way it really should go, the way it could go, here's how the relationship could be very beneficial. Let's say that rappers, said, okay, we're going to go to the community, find out what the community needs, and use our influence to tell these politicians we need you to do this, we need you to do this, we need this. If you do this for me, then I'll twerk for you, I'll rap for you, I'll shout you out on the next album. I'll do all of that for you, but I'll only do that if you deliver these things, right? Now, to know what to deliver, I doubt that a 28-year-old rapper is going to really know the deep-seated policy needs for the Black community. They don't understand mass incarceration, the war on drugs, the economic despair, that Black families are last when it comes to wealth. They don't understand the need for access to capital. They don't understand what it really looks like to clean up a community. They don't know these things. Why? Because they're good at rapping. It's hard to be experts on multiple things, and I respect that. Really, Megan can twerk her butt off and she can rap her butt off. So it probably took a lot of time for her to learn how to do those things. She probably didn't have time to sit in political science class and get a doctorate in political science in her spare time. So here's what the rapper could do. They could go and talk to people that know what they're doing and say, okay, I got this influence, I got this power. I have 30 million Instagram followers, and this politician is trying to use that to get elected. I'm going to I need you to give me policies that I can take to the table that will allow me to negotiate on our behalf. That would be perfectly fine. I think that would actually be okay. And it's been done before. It's been done before. Let me explain where it's been done before. When Charlemagne the God was going to interview Joe Biden, Charlemagne I respect him. I know he's complex, but I respect him because the times I've met him, he's been a smart man. He asked for a copy of my book, What if George Bush Were a Black Man? And I didn't think he was going to read it. Damon Wayans was there the same day, and he took it. He didn't read it. I assume he didn't read it. But Charlemagne took the book. Next time I saw him, he'd actually read the whole book, and I was super impressed. Okay, so this is a smart guy. And so when Charlemagne went to interview with Joe Biden, he sent me a text, and he said, "What questions should I ask him?" And I was like, oh, this is great. Because here's the deal. Joe Biden would never talk to someone like me. I would run circles around him. I would scare him. I'm literally his worst nightmare. People like me are the worst nightmare. We are the threat. The intelligent Black people are the threat. So I said, okay, I get it. You're doing a Trojan horse. That's smart. So I said, oh, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this, and ask him this. And that's what he did. Charlemagne went to Biden and sat down with him. And if you recall, that was the interview where Charlemagne asked so many questions that he damn near made that man's head explode. He got pissed. He was livid. He's like, who the hell, what the hell's going on? And that's when he blew up and said, well, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't Black. And you remember Charlemagne's asking him all these questions. Well, what about this? And what about that? And then you hear the guy in the background, I'm sorry, Mr. Charlemagne, but he's got the president has a very busy schedule. He's got how many times do you see that where the president is doing an interview and somebody in the background has to interrupt the interview and say, I'm sorry, we just realized that he has to go. No, he ain't got to go. You tried to save him. You are in panic mode right now. You're like, oh my God, the Black community is waking up and asking hard questions. We can't answer hard questions. So you're scared. They were nervous. And then that's when Biden just cracked and said, well, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't Black. We said, gotcha. Gotcha, bitch. I remember thinking, yes, touchdown. This is what it looks like to work together. This is what it looks like to work together. And I've seen other people do it very, very well. Ice Cube did it better than anybody. Ice Cube, he before he was legendary to me as an artist because he's just been a great artist. He's made movies. He's got the big three. I love all of that, but there's nothing I've ever respected from him more than the way he handled his political intervention. The thing Ice Cube did when he made his contract with Black America is he went to all of the experts he could find in the Black community and got them to write policy, like, which is exactly what our Black PhDs and lawyers and everybody else needs to be doing. Y'all need to be writing some damn policies and then using the celebrities to deliver the message to the politicians, because the politicians won't talk to any Black people other than the entertainers and the athletes. So if you are an entertainer or if you are an athlete and you really have that access and you really care about Black people, then you will let people play their position. You will go talk to those people. If you want to understand, don't sit there and pretend to be an economic expert, Ti. Go talk to an economic expert. Don't sit there and and talk about what's going on with Black families. Go talk to somebody there are people who study this for a living. There are activists who are in the field doing the work. But they can't get the ear of the politicians because the politicians only listen to people who made albums or played in the NBA. I'm not 6'8", 240 pounds, and I cannot rap, and I will not ever be seen twerking. So I'm not a person that they're ever going to want to sit down and have a conversation with, but you are. And we can teach you things. We can explain things to you. So with Cube, when Cube and I talked, what respect, but maybe respect him so much is he was just listen. He was sitting, he sat and he talked to me. I was going to Tariq Nasheed's event during the pandemic. And the whole time, for 30 straight minutes, me and Ice Cube were on the phone, and he was talking for a long time and explaining why he was doing it and what he believed. And all I did was listen. Before you correct, you must connect. So I was listening to understand why he was doing it. Because I said, look, I'm not here to hijack your platform. I'm not here to tell you what to say. I want to understand who you are and what you believe and why you're doing this. And once I understood that, I said, okay, here's some things I think you can do. Here's some strategies you can apply. And so he went on CNN and did a really great interview. I forgot with the Chris Cuomo or whatever. And I was so proud of him. He really represented himself very well. And so to me, that was a crowning moment for the Black community. And what was so frustrating about it is that a lot of Black people missed it because we're not used to that. We're not used to artists or entertainers showing up in an intelligent way and truly advocating for the Black community. We are sometimes like that abused prostitute who says, why in the hell are you fighting for me? Why are you advocating for me? Why you treat me like a lady? I ain't no lady. I'm just a hoe. That's seriously, that our self-esteem is so low that people got angry when he literally walked in the name of Black people and said, I'm doing this for Black people. I'm not doing this Democrat, Republican, none of that. This is for Black people, and I want Black people to get the best deal. And we got angry about that. We got mad because somebody confronted our pimp. A real, seriously, a real man walked up and said, I love this woman. I'm going to protect her. And what you're doing to her ain't right. And we literally were like the prostitute who attacked the man on behalf of the pimp. That's what we do. That's what we are. And that did not make any sense to me whatsoever. I thought that was absolutely tragic. And it really was a reflection of just how much work we have to do and how much further we have to go in terms of really understanding how to play this game at the highest levels. Some other celebrities who I think have done it right. I did work with Russell Simmons on the mass incarceration campaign. Russell understood very clearly what the power of celebrity looked like. So he used his connections. No, very few people are more connected in entertainment than Russell, at least definitely at that time, 2013. When we talked, he understood he was talking to a scholar, and he said, I want to basically do a Trojan horse. He didn't say it like that, but that's what was going through my head, where we're going to use the power of celebrity to bring quality ideas to the table that need to be heard, and we're going to make them listen. We're going to use our power to make them listen. That's the kind of transaction that entertainers need to have with the politicians. But when you say, look, I'm going to show up and I'm going to rap for you, I'm going to twerk for you, I'm going to tweet for you, and I'm going to do all these things for you, and you're giving me and my community nothing in return, then you have wasted an opportunity and you have significantly undermined your purpose. There's no benefit that the community will receive when a rapper from the Migos just gets up there and says, everybody vote for this person. That's inappropriate behavior. It's all written about in Powernomics. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that. Inappropriate behavior is literally where you are representing a community that is in deep need, that is impoverished, that has a valuable asset. They have a valuable asset. Think about this. Imagine if your family is struggling. Imagine if your family, your mama's starving, your daddy is homeless, your sister and brother are broke, and they got one asset. They got one that they find a big gold bar in the backyard, and the gold bar is worth $100,000 and somebody down the street wants to get access to what is in your backyard. They want to go in your backyard and drill for gold, and you give away the rights just because you want to be nice or because you want that person to be your friend. You just sold out your whole family. You literally did. I mean, this happens around the world, by the way. This happens. Economic trickery is common all throughout the world. Economic exploitation happens everywhere. Why is it? Think about this. I'm part Nigerian, and so I love the Nigerian people because I'm one of them. I'm about 33% Nigerian. I take great pride in that. That's a tremendous culture. I was stunned to go to Nigeria and see that Nigeria has more oil than damn near every country on the planet. I think their oil reserves, they're definitely right up there with Saudi Arabia. And they have an unbelievable amount of poverty. I remember thinking, how in the hell can you have all this oil and have so many poor people? If I go to Dubai, I don't see that. If I go to the United Arab Emirates, I don't see that. I don't see this in Saudi Arabia, but I can see this in Nigeria. Well, this comes back to how the game is played differently in different spaces and how you need to really play this game in the right way. So when I talk about hip hop artists meeting with politicians, I don't have anything against that as a principle. What I don't like about it is when you're giving something away and asking for nothing in return. At that point, even your adversaries don't respect you. Your adversaries are like, damn, wow, I didn't know it was going to be that easy. And also, if you notice, it's interesting, right? The politicians love the rappers until the rappers start asking hard questions. See, they love Megan Thee Stallion. But then, if you remember, I forgot who it was. I want to say it might have been Kamala and some other people. Well, Ice Cube needs to keep his mouth shut. He needs to stop talking about he needs to rap and stop talking about politics. Oh, you want them talking about politics when they're repeating what you told them to say, but you don't like them talking about politics when they're really advocating for the people that they represent. That's what you're really saying. You're saying, I want you talking, but you better only talk when I tell you what you're allowed to say. And that is incredibly inappropriate behavior. If you are a person who is concerned about the oppression of Black people, then you cannot support these ideas and also be concerned with the oppression of Black people because you're contributing directly to it. I can tell I got data to support this. You can't show me where all this voting that we do has ever made a big difference in terms of quality of life for African American people. It just hasn't. You were dead last in wealth in 1955. You're dead last today. That's nothing's changed. Your families are actually worse off than they were in 1955. You have far less marriage. Your children are unsafe. Little girls get molested by their mama's boyfriends. Your sons are running out in the streets, getting shot up every single day. Chicago, they had 109 shootings in Chicago in one weekend, July 4th weekend. The same weekend they had the NASCAR race. And I met up with well, actually I didn't get to meet him, but I went down to the NASCAR race, and LeVar Scott was there that week. LeVar is the Black NASCAR driver that we support in the Black Business School. And that weekend, 109 people were shot in Chicago, and there was no conversation about it, no talk about it. And I think that what happens is that there are people that just accept the idea that Black people are always just going to be at the bottom. They accept the idea that Black people will always suffer. They accept the idea that Black problems will never be fixed. And I just refuse to accept that because the solutions to these problems are very straightforward and very, very simple. They are. And to be quite frank with you, I would say that the real solution to solving Black problems is you need to stop listening to white people. That's it. And I don't know how that sounds. I know maybe that will sound weird to people or rude, but seriously, just stop listening. Stop listening to white people. And really stop listening to Black people who represent white people. Start listening to yourself. That's it. You are a father. You are the head of that household. Listen to yourself. You are a mother. Mothers are the first teachers. Listen to yourself. You are the black leader in your community that you're waiting for. That leader is inside of you. It certainly ain't no rapper on stage twerking next to a politician. What the ain't no leadership in that. Ain't nothing. Ain't not, and I hate saying it. I'm not here to beat up on poor Megan the Stallion because I read her bio. She's young enough to be my daughter. I feel sorry for her because she got shot in the foot by her boyfriend. And that to me is not surprising because that is what happens when you are part of a lifestyle that promotes this sort of irresponsible sexuality and just running the streets and connecting with like I'm the type of I'm old school Southern black man. I'm the type of daddy who would have said, why would you date a son of a bitch like that anyway? This guy, what you like him because he can rap, but he's a loser. He's a bum. Look at him. Look at the way he's carrying himself. This is not a man that's going to be a good father to your children. Oh, but you think he's cool because he made an album and okay, yeah, he's got a little bit of money. Remember, I'm an expert on money. I know how money can deceive you. And so you think because he flashed $100,000 on Instagram that that's a great man for you to be with. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about men. And this is what our families are missing. We don't have these honest discussions. We don't have these fathers sitting there telling their daughters, like, look, babe, don't let this stuff fool you. Some of these guys will swoo you out your panties, get you pregnant, and then have you carrying around an STD and a little baby, an abandoned baby, and trying to figure it all out. You know, like get you a solid man. The solid men are the men who don't get celebrated in America. The solid men are the men. That's the man who is in the library right now. You might think he's a lame because he's in the library, but I don't see a lame. I see a future millionaire. My mother used to say, you know, my mother used to say when I was little, my mother used to say, she said they call them nerds when they're 10, but they call them millionaires when they're 30. And I remember just holding on to that because and that made me less afraid of people calling me a nerd because I wanted to do good things with my life. I didn't care about that. But what I realized is that I had to be a courageous nerd. I had to be a bold nerd because I had to stand up to all of the cool guys who would try to bully or intimidate me because I wanted to sit down with a book instead of run to the club. They wanted to make fun of me because I wanted to love my woman instead of run around being a big hoe. They wanted to make me feel bad because I wanted to plan for my future and grind all night instead of going out and getting into whatever ridiculous shit you're getting into that's going to get you locked up, killed, or turn you into a drug addict. I had to stand up to those guys. And believe me, I told you, I'm the son of Larry Watkins. This man has killed people. I ain't scared of none of y'all. So I stood up in their face. I said, look, I don't care. We can fight it out if you want to, but you're a punk. You're a loser. You're a bum. You're going to ruin somebody's life. Your children are going to be ashamed of you because you're not planning for your future. Because for a man to be successful in America, especially a black man, he's got to be prepared. He must have a soldier mentality because you are at war, you dumbass. They wanted to kill you before you were born. They were trying to abort. They wanted your mama to abort you. That's how much they hate you. And then they put you in the school system. And they didn't teach you nothing because you sat around. Somebody was crazy enough to think that these white folks are really going to educate a black boy to be a black man. They're not going to do that. They want him wearing panties. They want him to be a wimp. They want him to be lost. They want him to be high on dope. They want him to be confused. They want him to be a victim. They're not going to raise a man to be a man. That's why I tell you, seriously, and it sounds radical. People get mad. I do not care. Our black children should not be getting educated by people who don't have their best interests at heart. And the public school system shows you that every single day of the week. So I had to fight. I had to fight people. I did. I had to learn to love myself because I was sometimes I was by myself. I was alone. I didn't, boys, why don't you drink? You try to make fun of me because I'm like, I was like, F you, man. Why are you making fun of me because I don't drink? You know how many alcoholics I got in my family? Do you know what alcohol does to men? Do you know how many men there are in prison because of stupid stuff they did at the club, drinking liquor and all? Do you know how many people get sucked in and suckered by the thug culture that gets promoted in hip hop? Do you know how many guys that are 40 years old in prison who are like, man, I got tricked. They made me think that it was cool to do stupid things with my life. Now I'm 42 years old and I figured it out, but now it's kind of hard to play catch up. And I'm tired of black men playing catch up. I just am. It's sad to me. You can't win a race playing catch up. If you're in the Tour de France, that bike race, and it's hundreds of miles, and everybody's riding 70 miles an hour or whatever they're riding in those bike races, you can't like sleep for half of the race and then think you got a chance to win. You're not going to win. You have to get an early start. You have to get a head start. So if you want to use a term like head start, to me, head start means giving our boys and our girls a head start on this challenge that occurs in life called being black in America. Being black ain't easy. Being black means you got some obstacles. Racism is very real. The competition really has shown up. The defense is really going to be defending. They're not going to give you nothing. They're not going to make it easy for you. So you've got to be prepared. So the best messages I got in my life were people from my grandmother who told me that you have to be twice as good to get half as much. So when I come in with that mindset, then I got my head on the swivel. I'm prepared. I'm not going around making reckless mistakes and reckless errors because I know that the margin of error is thinner because I'm a black male. I wrote a whole book about that. My book that I gave to Charlemagne, What If George Bush Were a Black Man? I think it's on Amazon somewhere if you want to get it. That's all I wrote about. I wrote statistically. I was on the faculty of Syracuse at the time. And I said, I want you to pay attention to how the margin of error for the black male in America is so much smaller than everyone else. A black male can make the exact same mistake as a white boy on a college campus, but the white boy gets off and gets to move on with his life. The black male the black male ends up spending, the next 30 years in prison and gets vilified by society. That's the difference in your experience. And just knowing these things and accepting that reality to me is better than believing in the false reality of this beautiful post-racial integration nonsense that they feed us in school. This whole idea that as long as I integrate with my allies, everything's gonna be all right. I just got to make sure I go and work for the nicest white man I can find, and that I always vote Democrat in every election, and that I do what they tell me to do. Everything's gonna be okay. And then when they kick you in your head and pimp you and leave you in the gutter, you're always in shock. And then you get to run and say, "Gosh, I'm such a victim because being black is so hard and it's so bad being black." But I'm sitting here thinking, what made you think that you could trust these other people in the first place? What made you think that they had your best interests at heart? What made you think that they were going to treat you fairly? So I really kind of think that sometimes we don't understand the game that we're in. I think we lose the game because we don't even know that it's a competition. We lose the battle because we don't even know that war's been declared on us. And I get it and I understand it, but I'm just going to tell you that when you point to most problems that the average black person might talk about or face, most of these problems are directly solvable if you simply stop listening to what white people tell you to think. For example, um, CNN might tell you that the biggest, worst thing that ever happened to black people ever was the George Floyd killing. That this whole situation is something we need to put it on murals and compare him to Martin Luther King, and that this is the biggest thing happening in the black community. And I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm not in any way disparaging George or his family. But what I'm saying is, I don't consider George Floyd to be any more important than any little girl that got shot by a stray bullet on the south side of Chicago. I don't consider the George Floyd killing to be more significant than the 109 people who got shot in Chicago on July 4th weekend, and none of y'all were talking about it. I don't consider George Floyd's situation to be any more meaningful than the thousands and thousands and thousands of black men and women right now who are being raped in prison right now as we speak. And no one even knows. Nobody hears their screams. Nobody's hearing that man crying in his cell every night because he's in this unbelievably horrible situation. I think all those things matter. And so I don't let other people tell me where my attention needs to be. You've got to trust your instincts. So let me sum this up. My wife and I are traveling today, and she just called me. That's why I had to turn my phone off. So because we're going on that trip to Egypt. Um, I'm gonna summarize it like this. If you go back to the central point that we talk about when we talk about economics as it relates to also health, wealth, and relationships, here's what black people need. This is what will give you a quality life, whether a Democrat is in office or a Republican. Number one, you must address your mental health. Half our people run around here blind, deaf, dumb, and crazy, doing crazy stuff. Trauma responses everywhere. Trauma is massive. Trauma kills you. Trauma destroys your relationships. Trauma destroys your economics. A lot of you are traumatized. You have to heal from that. If you want to be a well-adjusted, healthy, safe black person, you have to heal from your trauma. Part of your trauma is also corporate trauma. Madam President talks a lot about corporate trauma. The trauma you experience just getting up every day going to work for a racist. That's what affects most of you. Most of you are not going to get shot by a cop this week. Most of you are not going to get shot by a cop this week, but most of you are going to go have to work for somebody who hates your guts and treats you like shit and makes you feel terrible every single day. That's number one. Number two, you got to think about your physical health. The food is killing you. All the food is giving us cancer. The medical system is designed to rob you, and it's designed to get you sick enough so they can give you just enough expensive medication to leave you broke and make you sicker and have you die a slow death. They just want you to die slowly so they can drain all your money out of you as you're dying. So physical health is extremely important for Black people. We have to take charge of that. We have to think about these things, be health conscious, whatever that means for you. Again, I talked about little things like 20 minutes of exercise in the morning, eating more vegetables, and staying away from drugs and alcohol. These little things like that, I think, are extremely important. And I feel so sorry for young people who are influenced by rappers who hate Black people so much that they promote drug abuse to young children. That those people are worse than child molesters in my mind, because what you're doing is you're destroying some young man's future. You're taking away some new unborn baby. Some unborn baby is not going to have a daddy because you convinced him to be a drug addict at the age of 17. That's real. My daddy was a heroin addict, and heroin probably took my father away from me, to made him half of the man, one third of the man that I think he could have been and should have been. What else? What else do Black people need? And this is something we can solve ourselves. We need to have better relationships with each other. You got to stop talking crazy about Black women as a collective and figure things out. You have to stop talking crazy about Black men and blame them for all your problems. You have to value things like family, whatever that means. I mean, really, I mean, call me crazy, but I used to grow up really thinking that that getting married meant you were gonna be together for good, or at least try really hard. And I'm not making fun of anybody that's divorced. I know it's complicated. Life is complicated. You can't control whether somebody wants to be with you. But I just think it's so fascinating that society has convinced us that family is just something that you do until it's not convenient anymore, or until it gets too hard. And so rather than actually sitting down with a therapist, because they have therapists that can help you get along with your cousin. They have therapists that can help you figure out your problems with your wife. They have people they have professionals that can help you, books, videos, all kinds of stuff you can do. But rather than doing the work, there are people who do weird things. Like I saw this celebrity one time, Tia Mowry, I think that's who it was, who described her divorce from her husband as a graduation. She said it was like a graduation because I got to find myself and me and myself and I was happier and me and I'm not judging, and people do what they want, but I was like, dang, did you even why are we talking about the kids? Like, how did the kids feel? Did you ask them how they felt when their daddy was put out the house? And then when I heard her father, the kid's father, her ex-husband, he was crying on the show. He said, I cried myself to sleep every night because I lost my family. And I was sitting there, I felt his trauma. I said, that's interesting that we can't even empathize with the trauma that a man might feel if he loses his family. We can empathize with the trauma a mother feels if she loses her child, but we act like, but society's taught us to just blame the man, and then they kind of let you live your life unaccountable. And again, I don't want to get into that accountability conversation. I know that that's complex, and I do believe accountability starts at home, though. But I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about something like family, I think it's very important to, at the very least, understand how important and sacred family is. That's the first thing. Every culture understands this. We've lost some of this, to be honest with you. Um, but then two, understanding what family means as a vehicle for the building and the preservation of wealth. Most wealth is family wealth. It's very hard to build wealth without a family. That's like trying to win a football game when you don't even have a football team. That's what it is. One player, Deion Sanders, was a great player, one of the greatest I ever saw. Deion Sanders could never win a game by himself. He needed the other players on the Dallas Cowboys to win. So if they couldn't get on the same page, then they don't win that Super Bowl or two that they won. I don't know how many Super Bowls he won with the Cowboys. I think it was at least one. There's no Super Bowl if the whole team can't work together. So if you want to win a Super Bowl in life, you've got to find some way to be able to humble yourself, to commit to the group that you've assigned yourself to, whatever that means. Again, I'm not telling anybody what that means, but I personally, if you want to, my personal advice, I hope it's okay. Is it okay if I go a little bit Uncle Boyce and give you my advice on how I try to approach it? And I don't have it all figured out. It's hard. I'm telling you, especially Black folks, we crazy, right? So, and I'm crazy, so it's very hard. But I'm gonna tell you my little 2 cents. When I talked to you earlier about how I made an intentional effort to get rid of emotions like jealousy and hate, because I find them to be very unhealthy and very toxic. That is also what helps me to to get along with the group that's around me. When I look at my wife and my children, I remind myself every day that I'm not the most important person in this group. That my ego, my wants, feelings, desires, I try to make them secondary as much as I can. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have time where I just think about Boyce and I take care of Boyce. Self-care is very important, especially in the world I live in, because I have a big circle of people that are constantly pulling and asking for things from me. So sometimes I shut the door and say, Boyce is going to do what Boyce wants to do. So that space is there. But most of the time, I always try to remember I'm a part of something bigger than myself. So that means that as the leader of the household, my actions have weight, my words have weight, my movements have weight. I have the power to improve someone's life or to destroy it. That's the power of a father. Fathers are noble, meaningful, relevant figures if they present themselves in that way. And I'm gonna tell you, my wife calls me the juggernaut because she knows that I know I'm a king and she knows I'm a king. I'm not scared to call myself a king, but that does not make me better than you. Leadership is service. So as the king, I'm going to serve to the highest level. That's what being the king means. As I'm going to go out into the battlefield first, right? So I would encourage you that to really really understand family. I think that we've lost it. I think also family is something that can be studied. How you build these relationships with other people. I'm not talking about just spouses and all that. I'm talking about just friendships and business partnerships. And when you build the family, when you build your group and you have your clique, it's really a science and a very critical science to know how to make sure that you're always on the same page so you don't ruin what you have going on. I can't tell you how many times that I have been involved with projects. I was in LA a lot with a guy that was famous, but he was kind of an asshole. And he thought that being famous meant that he could be an asshole. And every project he got involved with would fall apart. Money would get lost. Everything he got involved with would lose money. And he didn't understand why no one would want to work with him. And I was thinking to myself, it's because you're such a prick that when you go into a situation and your ego is out front, no one wants to work with you. That was, so anyway, so don't be that prick. That's it. Just don't be an asshole. Learn, being a good person, I think, goes a long way, and so anyway, the last thing I'll say is that if you talk about what Black people need, this is another thing we can deliver without the endorsement or the support or the help of a single white person, and that's just the wealth thing. I really think that we need a revolution of entrepreneurship unlike anything the world has ever seen. I think that we need a community where every Black child knows how to start a business before the age of 12. They're even introduced to the concept of ownership and being the boss at the age of 4, 5, 6. Every child in our community needs to want to acquire real estate as aggressively as the Jewish community does, as aggressively as any other, as the billionaires and millionaires do. I believe that we need a community where everybody is owning shares of stock, buying as much stock as we possibly can and owning as much as we possibly can, and knowing that ownership is the key to power. If the more you own and the more you control, the more power you're going to have. So we have to do this, and this is something that we can do without anybody's permission. This is something we can do. Financial literacy. I've never met a white man who told me that I could not read a book about economics. I've never met a white man who told me I couldn't buy a share of stock. I've never met a white man who told me I couldn't start a business. So these are things that we can fix, that we can control, and these are my policies, right? And so if I was trying to get elected, if I'm trying to run for president, which I am not, if I was running for president, that would be my platform. Very simple. Let's focus on our health, our wealth, and our relationships, and let's implement these policies household by household, a chicken in every pot kind of thing, one by one, step by step. Use what we have, build on what we've got, and I guarantee you, we can build an empire off of that. We really can build an empire off of that. And I'm not even going to ask for a vote because I don't want you to vote for me. I want you to vote for yourself. You are the leader. I am not the leader. I am simply one of the advisors. So let's go get this done. To hell with these stupid politicians. They can go fight their little battles. Guess what? In the next election, I can guarantee the result. Here's the result. You know what the result's going to be? The winner will either be a Democrat or it's going to be a Republican. That's the result. I guarantee that it will either be Kamala or some Democrat, or it will be Trump. And then also, I guarantee this, that after they are in office for 4 years, the same thing is going to happen. There are going to be black people who are going to be upset because they lied to them. Nothing's going to really change your community. A whole lot of black people are still going to get shot in Philadelphia and Chicago and other places around the country. Black kids are still not going to get educated in public school systems. Black people are still going to be complaining in the next election about the very same things we're complaining about now. We're going to be complaining about our black jobs and some other things, and nothing's really going to change. That's the prediction I have, that every election is going to be just like the last one, and I guarantee you that in the 2028 election, mark my word, there will be some other life or death situation that emerges that is designed to get you to operate on the fear frequency so that you will comply without asking questions, that is designed to just scare you into doing what they tell you to do. So go play that game if you want to. Go participate. It's fine. But after you get done with that, I want you to really sit back and think about your life and just what a quality life really looks like. And from what most black people tell me, a lot of your stress comes from things that relate to your economics. So economics is the one thing. That's the one thing. If we nail this thing, we got it. And everybody ain't got to do it. I'm talking about you. If you nail that one thing, if you and your kids nail that one thing, if you and your grandkids nail that one thing, it don't matter if everybody else doesn't listen. Your family will be solid. Your family will be good. Your family will be in good shape. And I feel sorry for people who don't understand this. They can do what they want, but I want you to win. All right. So anyway, I'm out. Thank you guys for listening. It was great talking to you. If you want to join the Black Investors Cup Championship, somebody asked how do you join? I will text out the link later. I'm going to text it out today, and I'm going to give you a code. Again, the entry fee will be $69, but you don't have to pay the fee if you are part of Money in the Morning. So if you want to get the code sent to you via text, make sure you get on the text list. The text list is you could get on the text list by texting the word morning to 87948. Text morning to the number 87948. If you live in another country and you want to participate, you can also go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. Also, tomorrow night, Thursday night, 8:30, Constance Carter, who was here yesterday, she's a real estate expert. She is going to do a real estate mastermind event that is free. It's from the Black Business School. Constance is going to lead the charge. You saw her yesterday. You see how dynamic she is. She knows her stuff in real estate, 30 years of experience. She's a mom. Her children are investing. Her son has made hundreds of thousands of dollars by now in the stock market, I believe. I think he's made over $100,000 or something. So she's an absolute superstar, and I'm really proud that she's part of the Black Business School. So that event will be tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I will also text that link out later on today. So make sure you check your text. I got to go. We're headed off to Egypt as a group. We're doing a group trip to Egypt. That trip is full, so I can't invite anyone else. I'd like to, but we are going to do another group trip at some point, probably South Africa. So we'll talk about that at the convention, which will be October 25th through the 27th. In Lombard, Illinois, which is right outside Chicago. So if you want to learn about the All Black National Convention, please visit allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, guys, I'm out of here. God bless you. Have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take